From sunrise to sunset, recycling is more than a job. It's a way of life. Early mornings, late nights, hard work that turns the old into something new. Recyclers power the economy, and ReMatter is built to power you. Making those long days easier with smarter tools like scale ticketing, payments, dispatch, and everything in between. We bring it all together so you can focus on what matters most, growing your business and serving your community. Driven by the spirit of recyclers everywhere. ReMatter. Built for recycling. Built for you.
Welcome back to the ReMA 2025 live stage. I'm Hannah Carvalho, ReMA's editorial director. Today I'm chatting with Amanda Buros, chair of ReMA's Electronics Division, to get an inside look at the division and her thoughts about electronics recycling. Thank you so much for joining me, Amanda.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, Hannah. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah. So can you tell me a little bit about how you became part of the electronics division?
Yeah, actually, I think it's kind of a typical story, but Dynamic Lifecycle Innovations is the company that I work for, and we have been a long time ISRI ReMA member, but we were members in a way that we weren't fully engaged. So we weren't using kind of our membership to the best benefits that I think ReMA has to offer. And a few years ago, probably right around, maybe 2021, it was post some of the basal plastic implications, but when things were really starting to heat up, we were external in the industry, and I was hearing a lot about the electronics division monthly meetings and the virtual calls that they were doing, and that we were having a lot of basal updates and things like that. So we naturally kind of gravitated towards ReMA to be one of those places where we could be looped in to get real insights on some key things that were impacting our business. And from that, started attending the monthly calls, and then moved into more of an active role, coming to some of the quarterly board meetings, and here we are. So
yeah, no, that's awesome. What are now that you're the chair, what are some of your short-term and long-term goals for the division?
Yeah, so short-term goals, we have spent the last couple board meetings soliciting feedback from our electronics division members about kind of the key topics that are very impactful to our division. So we know the first two things that we've been spending a lot of time on is the battery policy working group and putting together that framework, and then also basal updates and trade and tariff impacts have been something that has just really kind of consumed all of us. But outside of that, we've been really looking to say, hey, what are the other things that we want to focus on for the year? Polling our membership, trying to get information on what is best value to that group. And with that, we have centered our focuses now moving forward for 2025. We are creating some different subcommittees, and those subcommittees are going to be focusing on certification developments and updates. And so most of our members are involved in one or more industry certifications, which includes R2, E-Stewards, Rio, some of the ISOs. And so we've got a working group now that is going to be engaged. R2 has their 5-year review that's coming up, as well as the ESG sustainability tact that's being developed. And so what we want to do is have a way for our members to get insights into what's going on with that, and then us to also be able to provide feedback and recommendations on behalf of our membership. So certifications is a big one, and we're also then looking to expand into some reuse opportunities to support more of our ITAD members. And so a couple key critical issues that are important to those groups right now are right to repair legislation and unlocking of devices, or devices that come in that we can't get through reuse channels. And so we're also starting a subcommittee that's going to be focusing on more ITAD-centric issues. And then the last one is kind of dusting off and reviewing the reuse and end-of-life specifications, just so that we have alignment on how we are classifying and moving our materials.
Absolutely.
So those are our short-term goals. As far as long-term goals, I think we spent a little bit more time focusing on the short-term goals.
Yes.
And I think long-term, though, looking ahead, I think membership growth is really important to us. We want to have a very strong division, continue to get people that are involved in the division. We're also looking for kind of those next level leaders that want to come up and get involved. And so for me, it's going to be starting to kind of come out, network, see who else wants to come in and be part of the future leadership of the electronics division. And I think in addition to that, really continue to represent in the industry as that voice for electronics
Yeah.
recyclers, and then also really work on how can we grow and diversify. So we're trying to reach out and involve more ITAD companies in
Right.
kind of our work here too. And we had a great meeting yesterday with Samsung, who received one of our awards for the ReMA show this year. And I think we talked a lot about how we're seeing this evolution of electronics being in more and more different types of devices. So when we talk about appliances or vehicles and things
Right.
like that, so figuring out how that evolution really broadens maybe our membership and how maybe that active voice is changing and how we have to bring a larger scope of individuals into our group, I think is something we want to tackle longer term.
Absolutely. And kind of speaking to how, the devices and all those issues, what are some of the current challenges as well as opportunities that you see facing electronics recyclers?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. There's definitely a lot. Market economics and volatility right now with just trade and the tariff impact is a really big thing. But luckily, that's something that ReMA's been hitting head on, and we've been getting a lot of updates, continual updates, thanks to Adam Schaefer.
Oh, yeah.
And so very grateful for his leadership on that and just his communication. I think outside of that, also the batteries is a huge impact
Yes.
and something that's continuing to grow in our space as a area of concern. So we've got a lot of our recyclers are part of some type of collection, aggregation, sortation stream of batteries where they just naturally come in through our products. And many of us that have large-scale shredding equipment have to put a lot of time and energy into removing these batteries from that stream so that we don't have situations where we can have fires or safety problems. So that kind of coupled with insurance risk and different things right now has been really, really important. So I know that's something that we're very grateful that the battery working group is tackling
Right.
because that safety and those insurance requirements and just maybe additional funding to help our members and our recyclers be able to navigate through some of those challenges with the management of batteries is really important. But it's also so comprehensive. We started with small format batteries.
Right.
And we're moving into like medium format and EVs, but there's also battery containing devices. And so for us as electronics recyclers, the idea that batteries are in almost anything and everything, and how do we deal with that is becoming a larger and larger issue. So I think technology and some other things are going to be key to kind of our evolution with managing those devices into the future. And then I work on the side of electronics where we do a lot of extended producer responsibility in the different state legislations. And so another thing that we're seeing right now too is we're coming up on 20 plus years of some of these programs being in effect, and we are getting to a point where maybe the modeling that was put together originally is starting to become a little bit outdated. And so we're reviewing that and seeing if there's better ways to put together some of those programs. There's a lot of lightweighting because they were originally built on like CRT devices and large electronics. And so we're seeing these things get smaller over time, and the ways that we calculate the obligations don't always align with how much volume is out there. So there's just some different models that maybe could be dusted off and kind of reevaluated as part of what we're doing in the industry. And then, plastic, I think, continues to be a key and critical issue. We have seen some just different movements with the Basel restrictions on where plastic is going and that eligibility, and I think that there are compliance solutions out there, but especially for us in the United States, the infrastructure to support plastic management is very far behind what the compliance restrictions and the trade restrictions are for us to be able to move the plastic. And so we're kind of at a point right now where we're waiting for technology and the economics of all of these things to catch up with how we need to be compliantly handling this product. And it's kind of an ongoing battle that we're facing.
Absolutely. Well, it's one that I think we are definitely, trying to prepare for proactively, and, that does sound good, like the work that we're doing. Turning a little bit to ReMA 2025, how have you found the convention so far?
Yeah, I think it's been great. I think the show's got a lot of great energy this year. I can tell that a lot of planning has gone into it. The content, I think, of the sessions has been really stellar this year, and just the connections. I think the right people are here. People are having good face-to-face interactions. And overall, I would say it's probably one of the best ones that I've been to.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
I'm so glad to hear that.
Yeah.
What do you think you would tell someone who might be like on the fence or not sure if they should attend next year's convention?
Well, first of all, I'd say save the date because you probably do want to consider
Sure.
it. And I would say maybe test it out, get involved in a smaller fashion to start with,
Yeah.
and maybe start attending some of our monthly meetings or try one of our quarterly board meetings. But overall, I think that the value the show brings is definitely worth it, and I would consider anybody to. I would tell anybody to consider attending it just for the experience. For sure.
Right. No, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Amanda.
Great.
This has been really great, and thank you so much for joining me today.
Great. Thank you, Hannah.
Thanks.